There's one kind of person who can drain your energy, twist your words, and leave you questioning your own mind: the narcissist. Most people try to fight back with anger, arguments, or endless explanations, but that only gives them more power. What if the real way to defeat them isn't to fight at all, but to remain calm, steady, and untouchable? The Stoics discovered a way to win battles without shouting, to protect dignity without revenge, and to walk away without fear. The question is, are you strong enough to use their wisdom when it matters most? To face the narcissist, you must first see them clearly. A narcissist is not simply someone who likes themselves too much. It is someone who builds their entire world on the fragile foundation of ego. They hunger for praise because without it, they collapse. They speak with confidence, but beneath their mask lies deep insecurity. This is why they manipulate. They gaslight you, making you doubt your own memory. They give affection, then suddenly withdraw it, keeping you chasing after their approval. They may use silence as a weapon or twist words so that you are always the guilty one. Most people fall into their trap by reacting with emotion. We argue, we defend, we try to explain, and in doing so, we hand them exactly what they crave: our energy and attention. The more we try to win, the more we lose, because the narcissist is not after truth. They are after control. You cannot win a fair debate with someone who does not care about honesty. The Stoics knew that the real danger is not what others say or do, but how we choose to respond. The narcissist feeds on reaction, our outbursts, our confusion, even our desperate need to prove ourselves. This is where so many are defeated, not by the narcissist's strength, but by their own lack of self-mastery. If you want to defeat them, you must not fight them on their battlefield. You need a different weapon, one forged in reason, patience, and inner control. This is where Stoicism begins to show its true power. The heart of Stoic wisdom begins with a single idea: know what is within your control and let go of the rest. Epictetus, once a slave in Rome, taught that freedom is not found in chains being broken, but in the mind learning where its power truly lies. We cannot decide what others say about us. We cannot stop their schemes, and we cannot silence their lies. But we can decide whether we believe them, whether we are disturbed by them, and whether we hand over our peace. Narcissists thrive when they control your emotions. They want you on edge, always defending, always proving, always trapped in their orbit. But the moment you realize their behavior is outside your control, you step onto different ground. You stop wasting your energy trying to fix or change them. You stop believing that your calmness depends on their approval. Instead, you take ownership of what is fully yours: your thoughts, your judgments, your choices. The Stoics were not naive. They lived in a brutal world filled with emperors, soldiers, and constant betrayal. Yet they survived by drawing a line around their inner life. No one could touch their reason. No one could control their perspective unless they allowed it. This is the shield you must carry into every encounter with a narcissist. They may throw insults, withhold affection, or distort truth, but none of it belongs to you unless you pick it up. Control yourself, not them. That is the first step to breaking their hold over you. The first Stoic weapon against the narcissist is indifference to insults. A narcissist's favorite tool is the sharp edge of words. They will criticize, mock, or belittle you, not because the words are true, but because they want to provoke. The moment you rise to defend yourself, they know they have power. But what happens when their insult falls flat, when it meets no fire, no reaction, only calm? That is when you begin to defeat them. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, wrote in his private journal that slander and gossip are as harmless as the wind unless you grant them weight. He understood that an insult only injures if you decide it has meaning. If someone calls you weak, does that make you weak? Or is it only a sound, carried on the air, gone in an instant? The Stoics remind us that words cannot damage character, only our agreement with those words can. Practically, this means meeting the narcissist's attacks with stillness. Instead of rushing to prove your worth or to correct their distortion, you hold your ground in silence, or you respond with calm brevity. You refuse to feed the fire. Imagine a flame searching for oxygen. Without it, it dies. The narcissist's cruelty requires your outrage to survive. By showing indifference, you expose their weakness. They expect a battle and find none. Over time, your quiet strength becomes a mirror, showing them their own emptiness. This is not passive surrender. It is active mastery. By choosing not to be shaken, you hold the higher ground. The second Stoic weapon is the power of boundaries. A narcissist will always try to expand their reach, pushing into your time, your emotions, and even your sense of self. They do not stop on their own because their desire for control is endless. Without clear boundaries, you become their stage. But Stoicism teaches that self-respect requires limits. Just as a city builds walls to protect its people, you must build lines that guard your mind and your life. Seneca once wrote about the value of time, saying that nothing is more wasted than when we hand our days over to others without thought. Narcissists are masters of stealing time. They demand explanations, force you into endless arguments, or pull you into their chaos. If you do not protect your time, they will consume it all. Boundaries are how you reclaim it. A boundary does not need anger. It does not need cruelty. It is simply the calm statement of what you will and will not allow. I will not discuss this further. I need space right now. This behavior is not acceptable to me. These are not weapons of attack, but shields of clarity. At first, the narcissist may push harder, testing the walls you have built. But if you hold firm with calm consistency, the message becomes clear. You are no longer available as their stage. Boundaries are not about changing the narcissist. They may never change. Boundaries are about changing you, about choosing to live by your principles rather than their demands. In this way, every no becomes an act of freedom. The third Stoic weapon is the refusal to argue with madness. Narcissists are not searching for truth in an argument. They are searching for dominance. Their goal is not to understand, but to confuse, to twist, and to exhaust. If you walk into their battlefield believing reason alone will win, you are already defeated. The Stoics warned against wrestling with those who have no interest in reasoned debate. For them, every clash was not about the other person, but about protecting their own clarity of mind. When a narcissist provokes you, it can feel almost irresistible to respond point by point, proving them wrong. But notice what happens. Hours pass, emotions rise, and still the argument circles back to the same place. They shift the topic, deny their words, or accuse you of being the problem. The truth is irrelevant to them. Only control matters. By refusing to engage in endless argument, you take away their weapon. A calm response can be as simple as "I hear you," or even silence. Not agreement, not surrender, but the refusal to waste your peace in a battle with no end. The Stoics would say that reason should never bow to chaos. To engage with irrationality on its own terms is to lower yourself into the mud where both are dirtied. The wise path is to remain above it. This discipline is not easy because your pride will want to answer back, to correct the distortion. But real strength lies in restraint. When you stop wrestling with madness, you no longer give it shape. Without your energy, their game collapses into emptiness. The fourth Stoic weapon is detachment from approval. Narcissists understand the deep human craving to be valued. They use praise as bait, giving it when they want to pull you closer and withholding it when they want to keep you chasing. If your sense of worth depends on their words, you are caught in their net. But Stoicism teaches that true value does not come from the lips of others. It comes from living in harmony with virtue, with your own reason and principles. Epictetus warned his students not to measure their lives by the opinions of the crowd. If you live for applause, you become its slave. The narcissist thrives on this weakness. They want you to believe that their approval is the highest prize, that without it you are nothing. But when you begin to see their praise as empty air, it loses its hold. You start to realize that dignity is not given or taken by them. It already exists in you. Practically, this means shifting your focus. Instead of asking, "What do they think of me?" ask, "Did I act with integrity? Did I stay true to reason?" When you answer yes, no insult or withdrawal can take away your peace. The narcissist may still try to manipulate, but their power fades when you no longer hunger for their validation. The moment you stop needing them to see you, you become invisible to their control. And in that invisibility lies freedom. Your worth no longer rises and falls with their moods. It rests on the unshakable ground of your own character. The great weakness of the narcissist is that they cannot survive without reaction. Their power exists only in the energy others give them. Every insult they throw, every silent treatment, every manipulation is a hook cast into the water, waiting for you to bite. If you do not bite, the hook is useless. This is why Stoic calm is their undoing. It denies them the one thing they cannot live without: control over your mind. Think of a fire starved of oxygen. It may rage for a moment, but without fuel, it fades into ash. The narcissist is much the same. Their arrogance, their schemes, their cruel remarks, all of it relies on your attention and your emotional response. If you react with anger, they are satisfied. If you react with despair, they feel powerful. But if you react with composure, if you stand steady in silence or respond only with measured words, you leave them nothing to feed on. The Stoics understood that true strength is not in overpowering others, but in mastering yourself. A narcissist cannot stand against someone who will not play the game. They may thrash louder, escalate, or attempt new tactics, but their desperation only reveals their weakness. The calm person who knows their own worth becomes like a wall of stone, unmoved by the storm. Your peace is the sharpest sword. It cuts without violence. It defeats without hatred. And once you learn to hold it firmly, the narcissist's power over you dissolves into nothing. Their weakness is exposed for what it always was: dependence on the very reactions you no longer give. One of the most powerful Stoic exercises to weaken the hold of the narcissist is called the view from above. This practice asks you to lift your mind out of the small circle of your daily struggles and see life from a higher perspective. Imagine yourself rising above the earth, looking down on the streets, the cities, and the people rushing through their lives. From that height, the narcissist's words and games shrink into something tiny, almost invisible. The Stoics used this exercise to free themselves from anger and frustration. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself to see life as if from the stars, where human quarrels appear as brief and insignificant as ants moving across the ground. When you apply this perspective, the insults of the narcissist lose their sharpness. Their manipulation no longer feels like a crushing weight, but like the buzzing of an insect. Annoying, yes, but powerless against the vastness of your life. Practically, you can use the view from above whenever their behavior threatens to consume you. Close your eyes, picture yourself stepping outside the moment, and ask, in the scope of my whole life, in the scope of history, how much does this matter? Will their insults still echo in 10 years, or even tomorrow? Most often, the answer is no. This does not mean you deny the pain they cause. It means you put it in its rightful place, small, passing, and beneath you. By shifting your view, you remind yourself that you are larger than their cruelty. You belong to a bigger story, one they can never control. Even knowing these principles, it is not easy to remain calm in the face of a narcissist. The challenge is real because our emotions are quick to rise. The sting of an insult, the injustice of being blamed, the frustration of being misunderstood. These things ignite anger almost instantly. We want to defend ourselves, to strike back, to demand recognition. Narcissists know this. They press those very buttons because every time you react, you become their instrument. The Stoics understood that human nature is not naturally calm. We are creatures of passion, and the first impulse often betrays us. Epictetus admitted that anger can flare before reason has time to respond. The key is not to deny this truth, but to prepare for it. Without preparation, the narcissist's trap is almost impossible to avoid. They know how to twist your instinct for justice into endless arguments. They know how to turn your desire for love into dependence. They know how to bend your pride into desperate defense. The difficulty lies not in understanding what to do, but in practicing it. Remaining calm when insulted is harder than imagining it. Holding silence in the face of provocation feels unnatural. Yet this is the battlefield of Stoicism, not against the narcissist, but against your own impulses. The problem is not only their cruelty, but your readiness to be carried away by it. Acknowledging this struggle is not weakness. It is the beginning of strength, for you cannot master yourself unless you first admit how easily you are moved. The narcissist is cunning, but your greatest challenge lies in disciplining your own response. The Stoics believe that strength of mind is built through daily training. Just as soldiers drill before battle, the philosopher prepares before life's challenges. Marcus Aurelius began each morning by reminding himself that he would meet people who are selfish, ungrateful, arrogant, and deceitful. He did not write this to complain, but to prepare his heart so that when he met such people, he would not be surprised or broken by them. You can use the same discipline when facing a narcissist. One practice is journaling. Each day, write out the behavior you may encounter: insults, manipulation, withdrawal of affection, and write how you will respond with calm. By rehearsing it, you strengthen your mind before the encounter comes. Another practice is reflection at night. Ask yourself, did I give away my peace today? Where did I let someone control my emotions? And how will I do better tomorrow? The Stoics also recommended negative visualization, imagining the worst in order to face it with less fear. Picture the narcissist attacking your character, and imagine yourself unmoved, steady, like a rock against the tide. This mental rehearsal makes it easier to act with calm when the moment arrives. Such exercises may seem small, but they are the foundation of resilience. You cannot wait until the narcissist strikes to build discipline. It must already live within you. Just as muscles grow through repetition, so too does inner strength. Each morning you prepare, each night you reflect, and with each day you grow less dependent on their chaos. This steady training turns the Stoic path from theory into living armor. There comes a moment when all the preparation and discipline meet reality. The narcissist strikes with the same old tactics: an insult, a twisting of truth, a cruel silence meant to draw you in. But this time something is different. Instead of rushing to defend yourself, instead of feeling your stomach knot or your voice rise, you pause. The anger still stirs, but you do not let it rule you. You breathe. You remember that their words belong to them, not to you. And in that pause, you take back control. This is the turning point. The narcissist expects the familiar reaction, the energy they feed on. When they receive none, confusion begins to surface. They repeat themselves, they press harder, they even escalate, but the fuel they depend on is gone. Your calm becomes a mirror, reflecting their desperation. The balance of power shifts. It is no longer they who control the rhythm of the exchange. It is you, simply by refusing to dance to their tune. History is filled with moments where calm defeated chaos. Consider Socrates standing before a court that condemned him unjustly. He did not beg, rage, or curse. He spoke with serenity, so much so that his accusers appeared smaller in contrast. The Stoic way is not to crush your opponent, but to reveal their weakness through your strength. When you turn the tables in this way, you feel the weight lift. The narcissist no longer defines your mood, your worth, or your peace. You have reclaimed what was always yours. And in that moment, you realize the battle is not won by breaking them, but by mastering yourself. Once you learn to hold your ground, you begin to live free from the shadow of the narcissist. Their games lose their grip because you no longer provide the reaction they need. What once felt like chains now feels like dust falling away. Freedom, in the Stoic sense, is not about controlling others. It is about no longer being controlled by them. This freedom changes everything. Conversations that once left you exhausted now end with you at peace. Accusations that once pierced your heart now glance off like arrows against armor. You find yourself less interested in winning against them and more focused on preserving your own calm. And in this shift you discover a truth the Stoics knew well. Peace is stronger than revenge. To rise above their tactics is not weakness, it is the highest form of victory. Seneca wrote that the wise man is untouchable, not because harm never comes to him, but because no harm can corrupt his soul. The narcissist may continue their behavior, but you are no longer tied to it. Their storms rage, but you remain steady on the shore. Their silence no longer frightens you. Their approval no longer defines you. Their disapproval no longer wounds you. What emerges is a new kind of life, one where your energy is no longer wasted on endless defense. You invest it instead in growth, in virtue, in the things that matter. The narcissist fades into the background like noise you choose not to hear. And in that quiet, you reclaim the strength to live by your own reason, untouched by their shadow. In the end, the Stoic path reminds us that life is too short to be governed by the vanity of others. The narcissist lives in a prison of their own making, chained to pride and the endless hunger for attention. But you are not required to share their cell. You have the power to step into freedom by mastering yourself. Remember that every insult, every manipulation, every twisting of truth is only as strong as your willingness to carry it. When you refuse to pick it up, it falls uselessly to the ground. The Stoics remind us that true dignity is found not in how others treat us, but in how we choose to live. Virtue, wisdom, calm, these are treasures no one can steal. Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." These words cut to the heart of the matter. To defeat the narcissist is not to destroy them, but to refuse to be destroyed by them. It is to reclaim your inner strength, to hold your peace as something sacred, and to live by principles rather than reaction. In this way, the narcissist becomes not your master, but your teacher. Their attempts to control you reveal where you must grow stronger. Their insults remind you to value reason over pride. Their manipulations push you to practice boundaries and discipline. And through it all, you rise, not bitter, but free. For the highest victory is not over another person, but over the weaknesses within yourself. This is the Stoic way, and it is the path to lasting freedom. If this Stoic wisdom gave you strength against the narcissist, subscribe now to keep learning how to master yourself and live with unshakable peace.